How will Moscow react to the shocking Ukrainian drone attacks on its fleet of strategic aircraft? So far, Russian officials have remained largely silent, stating only that they are awaiting the results of a formal investigation into the strikes, which hit air bases located thousands of miles from Ukraine's border. However, outrage is erupting across Russian media, where pro-government commentators and bloggers are expressing rage and demanding retaliation, including even nuclear responses. This isn't just an excuse, but a justification for launching nuclear strikes on Ukraine, declared the well-known two major bloggers on their widely followed Telegram channel, which boasts over 1 million subscribers. After the mushroom cloud, then you can start figuring out who lied, who made mistakes, and so on, they added, alluding to the Kremlin's expected hunt for scapegoats following the debacle. At least one notable Russian political analyst, Sergei Markov, advised caution, warning in a social media post that resorting to nuclear weapons will result in true political isolation. Yet, popular blogger Alexander Kotz demanded that Russia strike with full force, regardless of the consequences. Of course, Russian hardliners often clamor for Ukraine's nuclear annihilation while issuing vaguely worded but ultimately hollow threats of global destruction aimed at Western nations. The fact that they are doing it again after such a humiliating attack is not unexpected. Still, it would be a mistake to become overly dismissive and view all of Russia's nuclear threats as mere bluff. There are, in fact, a few troubling reasons to take the small chance of a catastrophic Russian response more seriously this time. For one, several Russian commentators have noted that Ukraine's targeting of a significant number of Russia's strategic nuclear bombers could be seen as crossing a line defined by Moscow's nuclear policy. Russia's recently revised nuclear doctrine, which outlines the conditions under which a launch might occur, includes provisions for retaliation if critically important military infrastructure is attacked in a way that hinders nuclear force response actions. The Ukrainian strikes qualify as justification for a nuclear attack, asserted Vladimir Solovyov, a provocative television host, who also called for attacks on the Ukrainian presidential offices in Kyiv and other targets. Regardless of the legal argument, the threshold for a nuclear strike remains fortunately high, and within government circles, such an extreme response is still likely to be considered excessive and unfeasible. To begin with, it would severely damage relations with key Russian trade partners such as China and India, and could even trigger military retaliation against Russian forces. The resulting mass casualties would draw near universal condemnation, further isolating Russia on the world stage. But here's the issue. The Kremlin may now feel intense pressure to reestablish its deterrent power. It's not just the recent Ukrainian drone raids deep inside Russian territory that have embarrassed Moscow. Shortly afterward, Ukraine launched another daring strike on the critical Kerch Bridge, connecting Russia to Crimea. The third time this essential road and rail link has been hit. The seizure of the Kursk region in western Russia by Ukrainian troops last year delivered yet another serious blow, leaving Moscow scrambling to reclaim its own soil. Meanwhile, frequent drone attacks, happening weekly or even daily, continue to target Russian energy infrastructure and airports, disrupting daily life far from the battlefield. At the same time, Ukraine's partners have gradually relaxed their limitations on using Western-supplied weapons against Russian targets, further testing what were once seen as Moscow's untouchable boundaries. There's little doubt the Kremlin is eager to retaliate forcefully, but what form might that take? One former Russian official said the most likely reaction would be a new wave of brutal conventional missile and drone assaults on Ukrainian cities, attacks Ukrainians have already endured for years. There's no other viable path, because Russia lacks the manpower for a large-scale ground offensive, said Vladimir Milov, a former deputy energy minister now living in exile. People bring up the potential use of nuclear arms and similar threats. I don't believe that's a real option. But again, Putin has repeatedly resorted to cruelty and vengeance. In other words, it's highly improbable, but the nuclear threat can't be completely ruled out. The war in Ukraine has already taken several unpredictable turns, including the full-scale invasion that began in 2022. And while Ukraine and its allies celebrate the stunning results of recent military actions, taunting a battered and angry Russian adversary could provoke dangerous and terrifying consequences.